Academy. I am Coach Dunham, joined again with Coach Hamilton. Coach, we have the next big tournament coming up this summer, this weekend. It is the Euros 2024. First match this 14th with the finals July 14th. Host Germany this season, reigning champs, Italy. Coach, what's your outlook on Euros 2024 this year?
Still a really fun tournament. It's much the World Cup of Europe. I guess similar up in what we do over here in the Americas. But it'll be a high quality tournament. Lots of good soccer players playing. A lot of good soccer players that are in this tournament that we'll dive into. But, and you've mentioned this before, one of your favorite things about these tournaments are the surprise club, the surprise team, the surprise country, the surprise player, somebody who just all of a sudden makes a name for themselves and is on the map, and now we'll hear about them for the next 10 years.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about it. It's the surprise.
Yeah.
It's the unexpected that you didn't see coming. And that doesn't mean this team's going to come out and win the whole tournament, but maybe there's an upset. They take points away and they move on to the knockout round. So it's so fun to have these tournaments. It's the unexpected that keeps things enticing to draw us in. So for Euros 2024, we're going to have 6 groups of 4 teams. The top 2 teams, based on points, will move on to the knockout round, followed by the next top 4 third-place teams of each group of the overall platform. We'll move on to the knockout rounds as well. We're going to dig through each group real quickly and kind of give our takes on the teams in each group. Coach, what do we got going on in Group A? We know Germany is the host. They're going to have the first matchup this Friday. I believe it's Germany versus Scotland going on Friday. What's going on in Group A? Teams, maybe some matchups that you're looking forward to?
Well, with Group A, it's Germany, Scotland, Hungary, Switzerland. I think this is Germany's group to lose very clearly. I'm interested to see what Scotland can do. You can never underestimate the Dutch. So I'll talk about our favorite groups moving forward. But I'm intrigued by this group. But as you mentioned to talk about it, I think Germany is the favorite.
I agree with you 100%. I'm taking Switzerland out of this group. I believe they're the next better team on this. They've got some quality in their matchup, but I don't know that Hungary's got anything. Scotland's kind of iffy. We'll see if they can push it through, Coach. What do we got going on in Group B that we're looking into?
Yeah, this is our group of death, right?
Undoubtedly our group of death. No question about it.
Spain, enough said. Croatia, who, if I'm not mistaken, has been second and third in the last
very well.
2 World Cups.
Yep.
I don't know much about Albania, but I feel like they got the short straw in this draw.
No question about that.
But we can debate this group a little bit, but I think, my initial thought is Spain and Croatia get out, right? But then you're like, okay, well, Italy just won this tournament. So how can you not even take them to get out the group stage? And you go, okay, well, I'll roll with Spain and Italy. Well, then you're leaving out second and third of the World Cup the past 8 years in Croatia. Like, there are just so many levels to this group, Coach, and I don't even want to begin to predict it. You may make me do that, but this is going to be by far the most fun group.
Here's what I think is, what if there's no third place moving on out of this group because of some of the results that occur, the draws that come out of it?
Yeah.
Or there might be an unexpected upset by Albania. So there's a lot going on. It's the group of death for a reason. Could it be just 2 teams moving on?
Well, I think that is a great point. If Spain and Croatia play to a 1-1 draw, and then Croatia and Italy play to a 1-1 draw, then all of a sudden points become hard to come by.
They're gold. They become gold.
Yeah, and then you're just, if 3 of those teams leave with 4 or 5 points, or if the winner of that group wins with 6 points, then I think you're going, as we talk about some of these other groups, I think you're going to be hard to escape in third place.
Well, and just like we said, if Spain, Croatia, and Italy all tie each other, what if Albania comes in and shocks a win?
Yeah.
I mean,
Gets a 1-0 win.
That puts them on top points with that one win. So a lot going on in Group E, Coach. Let's move on to Group C. What we got going on here, Coach?
Yeah, Group C, Slovenia, Denmark, Serbia, and England. And, of course, the story is going to be about England.
Of course.
And the story is going to be about
their disappointment.
How disappointments they have had in global tournaments. And so here we are again in a group that on paper they should do very well in.
Should have one of the best rosters. They're really a top 5 roster amongst the Euro 24 teams. But either it's the coaches or the players can't handle that pressure. They can't get over that hump. And we discussed this offline here, Coach. We're kind of asking it right now. If England, let's say they don't even make it to the semifinal. What's going on with Southgate?
He's gone, right? I mean,
do you think he needs to win the whole tournament?
No, and I even think that maybe I jumped the gun and you jumped the gun on the semifinal. That's hard. But, like, he can't have another slip up where he doesn't get out of the group or he loses in the quarters. Like, if he gets to this, then they had another decent showing.
Yeah.
And so you ride with what you got because, as you mentioned, that roster's so good. But if they were to slip up and, again, not get out of the group, then the writing's on the wall, I think. But even if they get a bad match, and this is where I think that Group B comes into play, is do I want the overall 1 seed or whatever it is, and I got to play a third place Italy? Or a third place Croatia. I win my league with all this pressure on me. I win my group, and I get out, and I get to the quarterfinals, and I'm staring at Italy across the field. Could you imagine?
I would love it as a fan watching the game.
No, of course.
I can't wait for that to happen.
But could you imagine that as Southgate as the manager who is trying to hold on to his job?
Yeah.
Then you're thinking, I'm going to lose my job because I'm going to lose to Italy, who has been a perennial powerhouse. And that's not really my fault. They're just a good squad. So, I think teams with like England and some others that we'll talk about, I think this is where that whole Group B, Group of Death scenario comes into play.
All right, Coach, let's move on to Group D. We'll be looking at, this is another interesting group going on. What do you like about this Group D?
Poland, Netherlands, Austria, France. Of course, France is probably the favorite. Mbappe and those guys, but Austria has intrigue, I think.
No question about it.
The Dutch have some intrigue. I think there are some interesting storylines here, and I don't think this is a walk in the park for France, but I think they get it done.
Yeah, I look at Poland. They may not have the top quality that France is going to have. They've got Robert Lewandowski.
Yeah.
Give him the ball as much as possible. He's going to pop some goals in.
Yeah.
Can he give your team a couple draws, like we talked about in Group B? Can he give you a draw against the Netherlands and get a win over Austria?
Right.
Another instance where maybe Poland steals that third place, move on to the knockout range. So another interesting group here. I agree France is probably the favorite. Netherlands hasn't been top dog in quite a while. Do they just completely... Are they in England? Or they just fall off the planet? So... It's an interesting situation here, Coach. Moving on to one here, I think we both are on the same page. What are you looking at here, Coach?
Yeah, Belgium, Slovakia, Romania, and Ukraine. Ukraine, if you ask me to pick a dark horse, I could maybe look at Ukraine.
Sure.
Mostly just because of what's going on over in that country.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then also if you want to look at a team that may do nothing because of what's going on over in that country, it might be Ukraine. And so, different ways to go there, but this has got to be Belgium. and
What
you heard what I said.
Yeah. I'm looking at.
Okay.
I think this is a team that no one's going to be looking at because they're typically not moving on in these tournaments. So
Right.
they've done something right. Either their coach has put together the tactics correctly. They've got a couple players that are working well together. I'm going to be watching Romania to see if
Okay.
they can't get out of this group here.
All right. I'm marking that down in my book.
Look on the Group F, our final group, coach. What do you like here?
Georgia, Portugal, Czech, and
Turkey.
And Turkey. I've never seen Turkey spelled that way. That's wild.
I don't know.
I think this is an interesting group. Again, on paper, you see those countries and you're like, okay, Portugal's going to come out of there.
Should.
But there's also that we don't know a lot about their soccer, and was what your favorite thing is about these tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you get one of these teams who show up, and in this type of group, you could see a sleeper come out of.
Portugal is the clear favorite here. I don't know anybody else that's really going to challenge them. Georgia got in here off of a playoff game. Turkey, they've got some average to the other teams in Euros 24. But Cristiano Ronaldo can keep scoring goals.
Right.
37, 38 years old, somewhere around there. He just played the other night, scored 2 goals. The guy still gets it done at the national level. It's remarkable.
It really is, Coach. And I think that brings us to our next conversation of who is and who is not playing in the Euros. And unfortunately, these countries, there are big not playing.
Well, the first thing is the teams that didn't even qualify for the finals. Erling Haaland of Norway is not in here. You've got multiple other countries that didn't qualify. So there's stars not here just because they had to get in. But star players, we've got one of the bigger ones here out of Spain. Gavi, the big Barcelona teenager, tore his ACL. Unfortunately, he's going to be missing the Euros. Clearly, I think that's a massive hit for Spain. We know what he does for Barcelona and their midfield. Such a playmaker, a creator. So not having them on Spain, how much does that affect the Spanish team going forward here?
Well, I mean, let's say they're professionals, and so they'll have someone else who can step in. But
sure.
But the playmaker side of it, I think, is the big issue that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
In a tournament like this, and as coaches, and even as the players listening, you gotta have someone that you can be like, okay, here's the ball. I need you to go create something. And Spain has lost that.
So here, we talked about this earlier. Who's going to step into that role? And is that guy going to be the new star?
Yeah.
The other players, we got Marco Verratti out of Italy. I think the age has just hit his mark. He's part of the big Italian team that won it in the previous Euros in 2020. Next up, 2 big names here. Jack Grealish, not making the England team. Marcus Rashford, not making the England team. But their form has proved it's on a downward slide for Grealish. Went to Manchester City this past year. I don't think he got the minutes he was expecting. Marcus Rashford was coming on as a sub in some of the games on Manchester United. So the lack of form is a big issue for these 2 players not making the team in England.
Well, and I hate to bring this back to the United States, but I think we've had this conversation so many times, and that is a name that is, worldwide. And you hear he doesn't even make his national team roster.
Right.
It's not something you hear about in the United States a lot. And so maybe it backfires on them and maybe they miss him. But I kind of like what they're doing here what England's doing here to go with, I assume, a couple of younger players.
Yeah, probably.
And see what you got. This thing goes. We're not talking about the Olympics. It's not the World Cup.
Right.
Do you want to win it? Of course you do. But it's not the be-all, end-all tournament. And so let's go figure out what we got. And it's kind of what you and I have been begging the U.S., especially on the women's side, but to do for the last 18 months. So I know it's hard for the English soccer fans to not have those two names on the roster,
Yeah.
but I commend it, and I'm intrigued to see what it looks like for them when they step on the field.
Well, we talk about this just like we talk about the U.S. They have the players that they can cycle
Yeah.
coming through. That's where the U.S. struggles is we depend on certain stars for so long. Where's that youth coming in to cycle and push them
That's
out,
a great point. Yeah.
challenging them to be better or stay on top of their game? And this is why England is notable because they can push out players like Rashford and Jack Grealish and say, all right, well, I've got Harry Kane.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine with you not coming in. So you've got to be challenged. And that's why the U.S. struggles to perform. They don't have the and
Anymore.
it's got to the size of our country. This shouldn't be happening.
And that's a conversation for another.
Yeah, don't get me started. Don't get me started. The final name we want to point out here not playing in the Euros is Thibaut Courtois of Belgium. This guy's the Real Madrid starting goalkeeper. He just won Champions League. And for whatever reason, the does not favor him. So he'll be sitting either at home or on the sideline thinking, why am I sitting over here? I should be a starting keeper.
Is he on the roster or has he been left off completely?
The way I'm reading it, he's completely off the roster. So for whatever reason, the coach does for him. It doesn't give details why. Maybe they've had arguments in previous national games, but Courtois sitting at home.
That's pretty remarkable for me, and pretty
Massive.
I mean, like if they give up, 8, 9, 10 in their group stage, that's all anyone's going to talk about. Is why was he not on the pitch? So even if they win 3 and 3-2 and then 5-3, great, but you've given up 8, 9 goals in group stage and you left
Get your 6'8" Courtois sitting at home.
Yeah. So that's out of all we've talked about. Of course, a lot of talked about has been injuries and things like that, or age and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think that is a very interesting. We're gonna leave you at home. Player.
And just like, is that going to bite that Belgian coach down the road and be like, oh my God, how do you leave this guy off your roster? Because, like we said, he just won Champions League with a clean sheet in the final.
Yeah.
We just said Belgium should easily move on to the knockout stage out of the group. How's it going to go down the road when they face the number 2 team?
It's like, but so can you make roster changes? Because I know there's like injury rules and things like that, but
that's a great question.
After the group stage, am I allowed to say, okay, hey, goalkeeper, you gave up a lot of goals, we got through, but I'm gonna bring in my guy now?
So I don't know the rules of the Euros, but typically you're allowed a certain number of alternates.
Yes.
And you can only replace them if it is a fatal injury, like that person's done for months because of an injury. But I don't think you can just say, I've made a bad decision on this guy, I want to bring my alternate back. No, there has to be like a clear personal injury that's done, and he is signed out of the roster.
That's not my brain around what is happening here with Belgium is just to say, okay, he's pretty sure he's going to get through the group stage. And then, so he's just getting a younger guy, or I don't know who he's brought in, but a younger guy, a lesser played guy, some more experience, some more international time. And then when they get into the elimination round, they'll be like, okay, let's call our guy back. But, if they can't do that, then this is an even more interesting move for me.
All right, coach, let's move on to our next topic here. We love goals getting scored. We've already talked about a few guys to watch out for. So, do you have a list of guys that we should keep an eye on for potential Golden Boot winner out of Euros 24?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw you a question at you, and the names I'm going to throw at you, all of our listeners and everyone are going to know who they are. So I guess the question is, if I gave you $100 to take any name that I'm going to give you,
All right.
or take the field. What are you going to do with that? So,
Okay.
so your odds with the names I'm going to give you, let's say they're 2-1 at best.
Gotcha. Okay.
For somebody that we haven't heard of yet, which is what we love about these tournaments. But here are the names: Mbappe, Bellingham, Lukaku, Ronaldo, and Kane. They're your typical scorers. They're your typical, names that everybody knows. Everybody's going to score goals, and they're going to score goals this tournament,
Yeah.
especially if their countries have any chance of progressing to the finals. Gave you $100, gave you those names, and you can only pick one.
Okay.
Would you give me one of those 5 names, or are you going to give me somebody different?
Well, I think your eye automatically goes to Mbappe. The storyline is wrapping around him. The thing about Mbappe is he plays for France.
Yeah.
They're the World Cup champs
Right.
at the moment. And even though he played well, they've got a lot of stars that can score goals.
Yeah. And he didn't score a ton, if I don't remember.
He didn't really start lighting up till later in the tournament.
Yeah.
Beyond that, you've got Lukaku, which he'll score goals, but I just don't see him being a Golden Boot winner. Jude Bellingham will probably get more assists than goals, but he's obviously going to be a young threat out on that field.
I think if international soccer had their way, they would want Bellingham to be the Golden Boot winner.
I agree.
Even if he doesn't win the tournament, I think they would love for him, because it is that young name, it is that young star.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if they could get him to, whether or not he lifts the trophy, but to be the Golden Boot winner, I think they would love that.
So out of the group that you just gave me, I'm torn between Cristiano Ronaldo with Portugal and Harry Kane in England.
Okay.
Harry Kane's going to score no matter who he's playing for. He's just a goal scorer. And the same goes for Ronaldo. I mean, just like I said, just the other night he played and scored 2 goals and win in the friendly lead up to the Euros. So at 37, 38, Ronaldo's still getting it done for his national team. I think he's the leading goal scorer in Saudi Arabian League. It's unbelievable. So if I was to lay $100 on the group you gave me,
Okay.
I'm laying it on Ronaldo.
Okay. Wow. Interesting.
However, I'm going to take the field on a player that, if he gets the playing time that I'm expecting, I think he's going to shock the world. He's going to be that guy that people are going to say, how do we not know who this kid was before?
And you talked to me about this kid before we went on air, the kid from Spain, so go ahead.
So his name, if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Lamine Yamal. He is the wonder kid. Nitpick here that I've read off of a sports article. 16-year-old Lamine Yamal has already broken records for club and country, including the youngest player to represent and score for Spain. This kid, for Spain, has already broken records at 16 years.
Wow.
Became the youngest person to play and assist in the knockout stages of the Champions League, playing for Barcelona, who clearly, alongside Gavi, is the future of Barcelona.
Yeah.
Doesn't turn 7 until the night before the finals of Euro 24. How about a storyline right there?
Yeah, that's awesome.
A 16-year-old replacing and gets them to the finals, turns 17 the night before the finals, ends up winning it for Spain.
And then wins the finals, yeah.
So my man, Yamal, the teenage phenom, to be the Golden Boot winner and taking Spain all the way.
I love that. And what a great story that would be. This is what makes soccer, and really any sport, so great, is that guy who comes onto the scene in March Madness or the Euros or the NFL playoffs or whatever type of tournament you're talking. All of a sudden, their name. They're the Steph Curry. They're
Right.
There's those type of guys who you never heard about, and then all of a sudden, you're like, oh, this guy's so rooting for you, and your $100 on that. I think.
What about you in return?
Yeah,
you going the same, or are you taking the field?
I would take 5 that I listed for you.
Okay.
If you made me pick, I'm probably
I'm
just going to
making you
take it. Mbappe.
All right.
Probably going to ride with Mbappe. I know there's strength on that friend team,
Mhm.
but that's what it would be.
Well, I think support that. Knowing how Mbappe did in the World Cup,
Yeah.
he needs this tournament to say, "Hey, I'm still the best
still
in the
here.
world right now.
I'm still here.
Don't forget about me." So he needs to show up.
Signed that big
Real Madrid, yeah.
Real Madrid contract. He needs to kind of. He doesn't need to prove. We know who he is, but maybe like re-energize himself,
Right.
to show that, hey, I can still get this done. So he would be my bet to win the Golden Boot.
All right, Coach, you threw something at me. I'm going to throw something right back at you. 2 questions here. Right off the bat. Who's your winner of Euros 24?
Oh.
Do you have a surprise team that at least gets out of this Euros 24?
All right, my surprise team, I don't know if it is a surprise team because, I mean, how long do you have to become to not be the surprise team anymore? But I like Croatia. I like Croatia to get it done, and and again, they've been second and third in their last 2 big tournaments, and so I don't know how long you continue to call them a surprise team.
That's true.
But if I'm allowed to take Croatia as my surprise team, I'm going to take Croatia.
Noted.
And then my man. I can tell you,
Are you going to ride with England?
I'm not going to take England. I'm not going to take
Not
England.
laying a bet on that one.
Which means England will win this tournament. Take Mbappe to win Golden Boot. I'm going to take France to win the Euros.
Oh, I like that. That's interesting. So the double for France.
Yeah.
Take a World Cup.
I'm going to take the double for France. What about you?
You know, the more I look at what Spain's got, I just feel like the story's written to take the Euros here. As far as my, surprise team, like you said, is there really surprise anymore at this point for anybody to really to shock what we've got going on here? I don't know that I have anyone that's going to shock anybody. I still feel like Spain was my shocker. My shocker will be England loses in the first round of 16. They don't move on past the round of 16. That's my shock.
Still lose?
They win their group,
Okay.
lose the first round of the round of 16.
Which is not unfathomable, especially since, with these 4 third-place teams moving on and these groups that we've talked about. There's going to be groups where a team with 5 points and 4 points moves on because they just tie everybody.
Right.
So, I like it, Coach. I'm intrigued.
This has been the A.C.E Football Academy bringing the Euros 2024 preview. I'm Coach Dunham, Coach Hamilton. Catch out those games starting this Friday, June 14th. A.C.E Football Academy, go kick some ace.